You're listening to the Hunt Stealth Podcast with Ryan Uffens, the podcast where we dive headfirst into the wild. Whether you're an aspiring hunter or an adventurer seeking the untamed, together we'll explore the strategies and stories that lead to success in the great outdoors.
Hey guys, today on the Hunt Stealth Podcast, we're diving into something that might just change the way you hydrate and how your body heals. My guest is Dr. Paul Barattiero, founder of Echo Water and one of the leading voices in hydrogen-enriched water therapy. For over a decade now, Paul's been on a mission to help fight oxidative stress, improve gut health, and unlock better performance through something as simple and as powerful as water. So if you've ever felt like your body was running on empty or wondered if there's a better way to support your recovery, this conversation might open a whole new door. So let's get into it. Dr. Barattiero, thanks for joining me.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Yeah. I mentioned to you kind of before we started, I think I've been bamboozled, but there is a little bit of benefit to what I've been drinking, and I'll share that a little bit later.
Sure.
But why don't we start off with talking about like your journey and your background and how Echo Water came to be?
Awesome. I love that story. I talk about it every day. So it goes back 20 years ago. So 2005 is when I stumbled, and I would say stumbled because I didn't wake up one day and say, oh my gosh, I want to find a way to have a water company that has to do with hydrogen. Like, that didn't happen. And so my wife, 20 years ago, we were married 10 years at that time, and her health was really not good. So she had thyroid issues, anemia, gynecological issues, short-term memory issues, just you name it, she had it. And I was looking for any way possible to help her. And at that time, my scope of practice, I was a podorthist. I wasn't a doctor yet. I was a podorthist. My scope of practice was ankle and down diabetic foot. And so that was my focus. So when my wife was having gynecological issues or thyroid issues or anemia or whatever, I knew some things about that, but it really wasn't my expertise. And so I was trying to look for anything I could find. And so there were some friends of ours in our congregation, our church that we went to in Kissimmee, Florida. That's where it was at the time where I lived. And they had a organic food store, and half their business was people coming to Disney World, and they would buy the food from them and take it back to their condos. So when 9/11 occurred, they lost half their revenue. And so they were in trouble. They weren't going to make it. So they came to me, and they came to one other individual to help them. And I did help them. And this other individual helped them and kind of saved their company. But when they couldn't pay back the help that we gave, I forgave the interest and just said, just pay me back the principal and take as long as you need. That's fine. Well, they ended up paying me back. And by 2005, they took my wife and I on a cruise as a thank you for forgiving the interest. And so we went on the Carnival Liberty ship, and this was the first day of my wife's menstrual cycle. So she was doubled over in pain in the back seat of our vehicle driving from Orlando to Fort Lauderdale. And I was like, she's not going to enjoy this cruise. She'll be 7 days. And so they brought this water with them. They had water, and I said, what is this water? And they said, that's what saved our company. People are like 200 people a day are buying gallons of this water because it's changing their life and all these things. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Right. And so here we are on the cruise. They brought a little rolling suitcase of gallons of water, and I thought it was the strangest thing. But I accepted it and said thank you. And here my wife, she's going straight to the cabin, and I'm going to art auctions and coming back, and I'm going all over just doing whatever. And I come back, and she's like, hey, I'm thirsty. Can you get me some of that water? And I'm like, sure. So I poured a glass for her and a glass for me. I drank the water. I didn't sprout wings. I didn't levitate off the ground. There was no crazy stuff. And I just thought, okay, it's good tasting water. It doesn't really matter. My wife drank the water, and she's like, can I have more? And I'm like, sure, of course. And I gave her more. And later she was telling me that same day, like, my body's craving this water. I can't stop drinking it. And I'm like, well, really? And she's like, yeah, I can't stop. My body's like craving it. And I was like, okay. Well, within 2 days, she was up and enjoying the cruise and was with us. And I thought, holy cow, this would have been normally 7 days of her being in bed. So that was my first, like, okay, what the heck is this? And of course, I asked my friends, what is this? Why would it do this for Jacqueline? And they're like, we have no idea. But all I can tell you is people with diabetes and people, they start naming all these things that it's doing. And I'm like, okay, but why? And they're like, we have no idea. We don't know. The guy who sold us the machine doesn't know. Nobody knows. And I was like, okay, that scares me. But we go on the cruise, we come home, and literally I'm a guy. So we just go on with our life. It is what it is. Yay, my wife had fun on the cruise. We went to Panama, we went to Costa Rica, we went to all these things. Well, fast forward 6 months later, my wife, we're having a family council, and we're like, when's your menstrual cycle? And she's like, I'm on it. And we're like, what? And we're like, you left the house, right? Like, what the heck? And she goes, yeah, that's true. And I said, what's going on? And she goes, I've been drinking that water. And I'm like, what? You're still drinking that water? And she's like, yeah, I go to their place and I fill it up and I bring it home. Didn't you notice the gallon container in the pantry? And I'm like, no, I didn't notice a gallon container. And so I'm just like, okay, shoot, I need to do a deep dive. Something's going on. Like, this is helping my wife, and therefore it's greatly helping our family. I got to figure out what it was. So I did a 1.5 year research, and I figured out that hydrogen can help these things. And so I tested the water that they did for hydrogen, and there was no hydrogen in it, but the ORP of that water was a negative electrical potential, which means that hydrogen was in it in the processing of the water, but is no longer in it. And so that was enough to help my wife in her body begin to fix itself. And I was so passionate about it at that point, because at that point in my life, I had a diabetic shoe company. We had all of our shoes Medicare approved, and people with diabetes were getting the shoes so that they wouldn't have amputations and all these things. And I thought, wait a minute, if this can help people with diabetes, that's a whole nother level. So that's really how I became aware of it. And then I wanted to do the deep dive, figured out what to do. And then I got involved and started promoting machines. And at that time, the only technology available was electrolysis. And processing electrolysis will separate water, and it's designed to separate water so that you have alkaline and acid. And on the one side, you're going to have hydrogen. On the other side of the anode, you're going to have oxygen, chlorine, and other things that are created. It's just the way water gets broken up. But in a machine, those two waters are separated. You wouldn't drink them all. You would drink only the one side that would have potentially hydrogen. And so that's what I started doing. And it wasn't until 2009 that I exited that company that I had joined, and I started creating Echo as a brand. And so by 2011, the first Echo machine was developed, and we launched the Echo 7. And that was January 2012 is when we began shipping. But I was developing from 2009, 2010, and by 2011 we had our first products, and the rest is history now.
Wow. Well, I appreciate you sharing that story. I'm fascinated by it, and as I mentioned, like, I am a believer in the hydrogen enriched water.
Mm-hmm.
So explain to the folks that maybe they're not familiar, and the hunting community. There's that overlap with some guys that are big endorsers of your company, and that have used it, I think, ever since they started drinking, and that being Dana White and Gary Brecka.
Yeah.
But for people that aren't familiar, I mean, you explained some of the benefits, I mean, just that your wife's seen, but what are some of the benefits that people can expect from drinking the hydrogen enriched water?
So there's over 1,400 studies now, 200 disease models, and that sounds amazing and is amazing, but I want to explain why. Because what matters is the why, in my opinion. The main reason that people get disease is because of a combination of two things in the body: oxidative stress and chronic inflammation. So when you combine oxidative stress, which damages cell function, and the reason it's bad is because it keeps cells from functioning properly, and then you combine that with inflammation, that's the leading cause of disease. And it doesn't matter what disease, all disease. So when that happens, if we reduce oxidative stress and inflammation, then many times these disease models go away because you've taken away the source problem. And so that's what hydrogen does. Hydrogen is removing the source problem by managing oxidative stress, or what we call modulation in scientific terminology. But it basically manages that and reduces oxidative stress and reduces inflammation so that it's no longer a problem in the body. So the benefits from hydrogen are based on the reduction of oxidative stress and inflammation, which can end up being everything that's caused by oxidative stress and inflammation, which is cancer, diabetes, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, joint issues, fatigue, not being able to run around the block, right? I mean, all of these things, ADHD, bipolar, schizophrenia, you name the issue, it's caused by oxidative stress and inflammation. And so hydrogen can help the body not contract all of those conditions and diseases. And if we really understand the way the body was designed to function, we have a hydrogen generator in our body. That is the design of our human body, and that occurs in the intestinal tract, in the colon particularly, and the big is if we have the right bacteria, which most people don't, but if we have the correct bacteria in our gut, then we can produce hydrogen gas. And therefore, the hydrogen gas that we would produce, that we all know as flatulence, but the hydrogen will modulate all of the antioxidant pathways, the inflammatory response, everything, immune function, all these things in the body. But because of gut dysfunction, which it's estimated 90+% of the population have some level of gut dysfunction, you lose the ability to produce hydrogen properly, and therefore you lose the ability to manage oxidation. And so then oxidation rises until you end up with oxidative stress. I hope that helps everybody in layman's terms, but that's really what's going on.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know my wife is a health nut, and she keeps threatening to drink this water. I try and get her to do it every now and again, but she's so weird about all the other stuff, like no red dyes. I mean, I felt like she's been ahead of the curve on that. And I just think, I mean, there's been a lot of attention on health in general with RFK Jr. and all these other guys, that people are really putting like their health at the forefront and the foods that they put in their bodies. And I mean, when I first started drinking the hydrogen-rich water, it was for some of those benefits, like get rid of inflammation. And I thought inflammation, like, I work out after the gym, helps with recovery, like that type of stuff.
Yeah.
But as I'd mentioned to you earlier, when I first started drinking it, like I just got it. And again, we'll talk. At some point, I want to get into the difference between your technology and your competitors.
Sure.
And what the differences are there. And you had mentioned there are some benefits, but I had for nearly a decade woke up, it would wake me up every night. My hands would go numb.
Mm-hmm.
Had shoulder pain, hands go numb, wake up, and I'm having to like shake my hands and try and do something to get them to not be numb.
Yeah.
And it made it so like I could never get like a good night's sleep. And I started drinking this hydrogen enriched water for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And after I think it was about 3 weeks of drinking the water, I woke up for the first time in probably a decade without numb hands.
Right.
And I'm going, you got to be kidding me.
Right.
I'm like, my wife's like, what did you do? What did you change? And I'm like, drinking like 6 bottles of this hydrogen-rich water every single day.
Yeah.
And it was also way more water than I had ever been drinking. But anyway, it like just completely went away.
Yeah.
It's a glass bottle, knocked it off, fell in some concrete, broke. It took me about it was about 2.5 months to get the
Wow.
replacement piece back. I should have just like not been cheap and ordered a new one, but I'm like, hey, let's just buy it. They're not cheap,
Right.
but totally worth the investment.
Yeah.
But anyway, I get it back. In that time that I'm waiting, the numbness in my hand started to coming back, and then like the shoulder pain at night started to come back.
Yeah.
And then within about 2 weeks of once I got the glass, portion back and was able to start using it, my numbness was gone.
Yeah.
And so like it's been almost a year. It's been a year this month, April. This is when I first started drinking the hydrogen-rich water, and I am like an evangelist with this to people. Like I've referred it to so many different people, and now we need to make sure that we get people drinking the right, proper
Yeah.
type of hydrogen-rich water.
Right.
But what are some of the other like real life examples that you've heard from people, outside of your wife?
Probably, I mean, I've been doing this 20 years, so literally thousands, right? But one of the most incredible, and this has been repeated multiple times, so it's pretty cool, but it's one of the neatest experiences I've had in this whole process. This goes back probably 10 years ago. I was at a trade show. There was a doctor that came up to our table and said, what is this? What's all this? And his hands were in his pocket, which is pretty typical. And he goes, do you think this could help someone with tremors, right? And he pulls his hands out, and his hands were just significant tremors. And I said, yeah, let's try it. I think it will. And so I poured him only half of the 5-ounce glass that we had, because he would have sloshed the water out. And I said, drink that, and I'll fill it up halfway, a couple more times. And I said, wait about 10 minutes, and then I want to see what's going on with your hands. And he came back, and his hands were still. And he says, I have tingling in my brain, and my hands are still. And I said, that's awesome. That's ghrelin secretion. So what's happened is when the water hits your stomach, within a couple of minutes, you had ghrelin secretions go to the hippocampus, the hypothalamus, and the brainstem to change cognitive function. And so that's what's happening. That's what you're feeling. And I said, wait another 10 minutes and, it'll be down in your feet. And he came back and he's like, I feel tingling in my feet. And I'm like, it has covered your entire body. This is great neurologically. So that was one of the neatest experiences. Of course, having people that had a disease model that no longer had it, or people that were given a week to live that lived an additional 2 years, 3 years. I don't know how you can quantify the value of being with your loved ones 2 to 3 years longer. We have had the same thing with animals that were given days to live, and they'd start drinking the water, and all of a sudden their hair starts growing back and their eyes are no longer clouded over, and they live for years to come. And I mean, it's pretty incredible. But at the same time, this is what should be happening normally. We shouldn't have all these issues in the first place, but we do because of gut disruption and because of, that whole process. And so when we give the body a tool that it needs, in this case, it's hydrogen gas, H2 gas, it's amazing how it can use that gas immediately to change so many things that we consider benefits, but that's just what we should be experiencing naturally.
Just getting your body back to normal.
Yeah.
Is the cognitive improvements kind of like the first things that people will notice when they start drinking the hydrogen-enriched water?
I would say that's probably the fastest. When we've done EEG testing, where you test brain function in what's called a brain scan, literally within 3 minutes to 5 minutes, you have a plasticity change in the brain, and you have normalization of the brain, roughly 58%. And that's rapid. The next thing we hear that most people think is the sleep. Their sleep that first night changes. They have better sleep. In your case, typically numbness in your fingers stems from little small muscles right here near the breastbone and your neck. Typically, it happens to side sleepers who don't have appropriate pillow or mattress or whatever. But basically, the shoulder's getting jammed in, and this entire area, the neck down, and then right underneath the collarbone, you have some very small tendons and things in there, and they can cause a lot of numbness that'll radiate from the shoulder down the arms and to the tips of the fingers. And if you literally go like right in here underneath your collarbone and you move around, like you'll feel like guitar strings almost. And when you move them, you can sometimes feel that radiating out to the shoulder where that problem is. But because hydrogen can reduce inflammation and can relax tendons and things, you can have a release. And so a lot of moms who are pregnant, who have inflammation in their ankles and in their legs, that can be lessened or gone. Gestational diabetes and diabetes in general, that was the big one for me, because when I first was introduced or figured out the whole thing back many years ago, 20 years ago, I was in the diabetes world. And of course, I wanted to see what would happen. And not every time, but a vast majority of individuals within 3 to 5 days, their blood glucose levels were normal. And of course, now we have 75 studies on diabetes showing lipid and glucose metabolism and cholesterol reduction, up to 15%, and blood pressure benefits and heart benefits. Because of all these studies, I created a website years ago called hydrogenstudies.com, and my team, we have a wonderful team of people that created this so it can be a resource for people. All they have to do is go to hydrogenstudies.com, and it's going to come up to a research page that you can type in any disease model, any organ, anything that you have questions. Will hydrogen help with this? And you can type everything from elite athletes to, whatever. And what you'll find is that hydrogen is involved with so much that's going on in your body that more times than not, you're going to have a study connected to that topic you want to see. You can type in things like nitric oxide. You can type in things like peptides. All of that relates to hydrogen. Hydrogen is able to affect nitric oxide production naturally in the body. Hydrogen is able to affect naturally occurring peptides in the body. I mean, there's so many things that hydrogen does that when you have it back properly, it can affect your hair color. It can affect all kinds of things. We have bodybuilders. We have professional teams and athletes, the UFC, as you mentioned, Dana White. But we have so many individuals that are professional athletes, like Ronaldo, who has every one of our products. You have all these people who are utilizing it because you don't fatigue in the same way when you're an elite athlete. So we could go on for days, but I'm talking too much. So you.
No. I love learning about this stuff. Like I said, I don't claim to be a super intelligent guy. I take something, I felt like it works a little bit for me. And so I do love sitting down and learning about all the benefits that can come from that. One of the things that I was reading that is interesting to me, and you had mentioned with that and how it helps with insulin and diabetes, like metabolism, like does that Does that help improve people's insulin sensitivity and metabolism if they don't have diabetes? When you're deep in the wild, you need fuel that won't quit. ReadyWise Pro Meals delivers over 30 grams of protein and over 500 calories per serving, keeping you strong for the hunt, the chase, and whatever the backcountry throws your way. From the protein-packed breakfast skillet to the bold Thai coconut cashew curry, these lightweight, freeze-dried meals are ready in minutes. Just add water and get back to the adventure. Made in the USA and built for hunters, explorers, and anyone who refuses to slow down. Get yours at ReadyWiseOutdoor.com and use promo code STEALTH for 10% off your next order. If they don't have diabetes?
Yes. So from a weight loss perspective, there are multiple studies from Obesity Magazine and from other periodicals showing that regular consumption of hydrogen water, a proper hydrogen water, can change waist to hip ratio, and it has the same effect as a calorie restriction diet. Well, what's easier, drinking water or restricting your calories? So I would say that there's tremendous benefits from a weight loss perspective. There's tremendous benefits from, feeling better, looking better, having nicer skin, having collagen. We even have bath units. So we don't just have, bottles like this. We have full house systems. We have inhalation where you can breathe in hydrogen if you have lung related issues like long COVID. There's 9 studies, almost, soon to be 11 studies on long COVID and what happens with the cytokine storms in the lungs. And so we also have a bath unit where people get in and their skin tone changes and their skin gets softer because collagen is stimulated by hydrogen. And so there's so many things that hydrogen can do. It's incredible to know. But the big thing people need to understand is they need to get a legitimate hydrogen product. There are so many companies out there trying to ride our coattails, trying to ride what I did 20 years ago, what I began, I should say, 20 years ago. Echo is the original company, and it is the largest company in the world for hydrogen water. And the reason it is because A, we have patented technologies, and we're only producing pure hydrogen gas into the water. And we do that through mechanisms that are proprietary, but they utilize a technology called a proton exchange membrane. They do not use traditional electrolysis. All the other companies use traditional electrolysis. And when you have that, you're producing Brown's gas, or you're producing chlorine, oxygen, ozone, and some hydrogen. But the big benefit with Echo is you can use purified water, so you don't have any contaminants coming into your body, and you're adding hydrogen to purified water, which is what's best for the body. And that's the big difference, is you're actually getting 20 times more hydrogen, but you're also getting it in purified water. And if someone wants to use, water that has some minerals, that's fine too. Just know that with the other products on the market, you're going to create chlorine and what's called hypochlorous acid. And that's really not something you want to be taking into your body all the time. I mean, the whole reason to get a filter is to remove chlorine, not to create chlorine and then drink it. So there is a significant difference. The big issue is the public doesn't know the difference. They know people are talking about benefits, and they look at a price of one product that's $299 with a 5-year warranty, and then they look at another product that's $50 or $60 that has a 3-month warranty or a 1-year warranty on Alibaba or Amazon, and they buy that because maybe they have sticker shock, or maybe they think, Echo is just the brand that Dana White and Gary are selling, so it's more money. That's not at all what it is. I want people to know that for us to produce this, it costs more to manufacture this than people are buying the scam products on Amazon and Alibaba, because those products are not proton exchange membrane. They're not true hydrogen products. They're electrolysis, which costs maybe $10 to make. This bottle is 6 times that minimum just to produce, and then to get it over here from the Philippines. We manufacture these in the Philippines in our own facility, And then to get them over here and all this, there's no way we could sell them for what the scam bottles are sold for, because their cost of manufacturing for a traditional electrolysis system is 1/6 the cost of what it costs us to make a bottle that is an actual true hydrogen product. One of the things people can do is they can verify if the brand of the product they're buying has accomplished the IHSA standard or certification. That's how you know if it's a true hydrogen product or not. And the way that standard was set up in Japan is that you need to use distilled water, and you need to produce at least a half a part per million of hydrogen gas using distilled water. 99% of the products on the market will never pass that test, and therefore you know they are not hydrogen products. Our device, like for example, the test is a half a part per million with distilled. This bottle will produce 8 parts per million with distilled water. Now that's 16 times what that test minimum is, and 99% of the products will not even touch the minimum, let alone, there is no product in the world that will do what this will do. And so that is what the difference of Echo is. And you mentioned Gary Brecka. Gary Brecka was promoting Echo for 5 years. Now, people just heard about it 2 years ago because Joe Rogan talked about it. Let's be honest, that's really what blew up Echo, is Joe Rogan loves Echo products and uses them and has them. So does Tom Brady. Tom Brady is such a huge supporter of Echo, and you guys will hear more about that in the near future. But Tom Brady, Joe Rogan, these guys are using Echo water every day. And it was Joe Rogan who was interviewing Gary Brecka that talked about Echo, and it literally 10x'd our monthly sales. We were already the largest company in the world, and then it 10x'd our monthly sales in literally 60 days. And that's when all the scam bottles came on the market, because they wanted to make something that looked similar to our Echo Go Plus.
Well, and the thing that's so frustrating for me, like as a consumer, like I said, like I feel like I'm a fairly intelligent guy, and I try not to get bamboozled too often.
Yeah.
But you see the reels come through, right? And I'll say it, you don't have to, but they go through and they cut the reels up. They've got Joe, and they've got Gary, and they've got Dana, and then it cuts to their product. And I'm not going to hold it up, but yeah, I mean, having done more research and getting into it, like I said, I'm excited to start using Echo water. I think just be aware, and like you said, like you can test, but it's like Ronald Reagan used to say, trust but verify.
Right. 100%. Ronnie is a good dude.
So it's a lot of, I think there's a ton of benefits. How much, let me ask you this, like how many bottles should people be drinking? I mean, is that all they should drink is Echo water?
No, it doesn't bother. It's not a problem for them to only drink. And a lot of people that drink Echo water become water snobs because they like the taste of Echo water, and they all of a sudden want that everywhere. Now, you do not have to drink 100% of your water with hydrogen in it. You do not. What's really good is if you were to get at least 16 ounces to 30 ounces a day, this is going to be really good for you. These are 12 ounces. So if you drink even 2 or 3 of these, that's significant. When people get our system in their home that filters the water, all the junk out, and then makes the hydrogen water at a 1/4 gallon a minute, they usually will drink most of their water, our water, because clearly that's what's in their house. But for those that want these because they're skeptical or they want to try and see what they're going to experience first, the good thing about that is after you've used this, you'll still have it for when you travel away from home. And we have a pitcher that's battery operated that's a 1/2 gallon. Because when you have a family, you're going to run this 10 minutes for 12 ounces. If you've got 4 people in your family, that's 40 minutes. You're going to create a little line in the kitchen in the morning when you're going off to school. I mean, it just doesn't I mean, again, I created this for two purposes: skeptical people and travel. And so it fits that perfectly. But once you are seeing that you have benefits, it's time to get a machine in your home. It's time to have something that filters water properly and actually gives you water at a quarter gallon a minute. So you're not having to wait for every single 12 ounces you're drinking 10 minutes. So that's the reality. But it's a good place to start. And then you can graduate from there and get something that's going to serve your entire family.
Yeah, and I think that's the stage that I'm at. Is I probably just need to get the unit for my house, because like I don't go anywhere with it, and like I said, it's a competitor.
Yeah.
But we're gonna remedy that.
It is one of the better competitors. I will say that to you, Ryan. The gentleman that owns that company has been appropriate. Once we put them on notice, they stopped. It's the other companies that are totally scam because they didn't stop and we had to sue them. And so, we were suing companies all the time. You can imagine this. We just had a company that created an entire website that said it was the official Echo Go Plus website. And when you go to check out, it takes you to a completely different bottle. Their entire website is our bottle, our products, not this new flask, but the older bottle that we aren't selling currently. And they made a whole website for it. And then when you go to check out, it's actually a completely different bottle. So, of course, our attorneys are going after them to shut down that entire website because they're using our trademark. They're using all of our stuff. It's a crazy world out there. You wake up and you want to grow a company because you want to help people and you want to serve people and you want to have people not feel pain. And that's your problem, right? Is our biggest problem for years was education, getting the word out, getting it. Well, Joe Rogan did that for us. And then next thing you know, now our problem is scam. And it's so funny because you never think that. You never think that.
Yeah, well, my wife, she's worked on developing some products like in the fashion industry,
Oh, that's cool.
and we've worked with, we looked at having some stuff manufactured overseas. Now she was doing swimsuits, and I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
if we're gonna do this, should we create like a knockoff? Like, so you have like your nice model, and then should we just knock ourselves off right now and
Make a new company.
yeah, make a new. It's like same product, just like slightly
That's
lower,
funny.
a lower price point, but
Yeah.
just beat the other,
That's funny.
guys that come in and try and lowball you. But so I mean, we've talked a lot about all the different health
Sure.
benefits in that, and then I'll just like my plug on how I think it can benefit people like in the hunting industry, because like I mean, not to compare us to like the UFC fighters, but when you go into the backcountry, you do you beat your body up. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
finding
100%.
water is a difficult source, and I've
Well,
yet to take one out into the backcountry with me. Go ahead.
well, I was going to say, when you're hunting elk or deer, how many miles are you walking? I mean, you got to be
You're
40 miles by the whole trip. I mean, if you're out there for a week or so.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on if you go out for a week, or even like the weekend warriors, like they'll go in and put, on a 2-day, weekend trip, they'll easily put in, 12, 15 miles. And it's not just flat. I mean,
Yeah.
it's up and down and
Oh,
up
yeah.
and down.
Yeah.
I mean, and
Well,
just the joints and everything. So I've noticed that it has helped me be able to kind of, one, reduce as I prevent. So I'm more prepared to
yeah.
go into it.
Yeah.
And then when you come back and you start drinking it, like that recovery time isn't
Yeah.
quite as long, because you come home and you can hit the hay and snooze
Yeah.
for a bit.
Well, no, to your point, I tell you, on average, people can go 5 times as longer when they're drinking our water, whether it's pro basketball players or whoever, they can go 5 times as long before they fatigue. That to me would be significant. When I first moved to Utah, which was 2018 from Florida, I ended up accidentally hiking Mount Timpanogos, what's called the Timpanoke Trail. Okay, that was 15 mile, 5,000 foot elevation gain, and I'm glad I took hydrogen water because I had no idea my son's 11th grade class was taking a 15-mile hike like that. I thought it was like a nice little walk through the, whatever. And sure enough, hydrogen water saved me. But the hunters aren't just walking. They're actually carrying packs, gear, guns, everything. And then when you successfully take down an
Harvest.
animal, you got to carry the meat back, right? Unless you're smart and bring forwarders and all kinds of stuff like that. But the whole point is, it's a lot. My uncle used to live in Morgan, and he would go out and hunt for elk or what have you. And oh my gosh, it was so much,
Yeah,
so
I
much.
mean, if you're a solo hunter and you're deep in the backcountry, I haven't done this, but I know. I mean, we've had tons of guys on the podcast that have. I mean, they'll take down an elk and they'll
Yeah,
have to make 4 trips
yeah,
at 150-pound pack, like back and
right,
forth, back and forth.
right. I mean, this would be perfect. The only thing we need to do is make it camo.
Yeah, there we go. Maybe we'll do a co-branded product at some
There
point.
you go. There you go. I don't know if you know, one of my buddies, Gary Winterton, he has Hooked on Utah, the show Hooked on
Okay.
Utah, and he loves our flask and talks about it all the time. And we are doing the outdoor show in Utah this year. We're going to be a vendor at the outdoor retailer show.
Okay.
So, and come say hi. We'll be there. I know Gary Winterton from Hooked on Utah will be there part of the time. But we are just dipping our toe in that to want to support outdoor individuals and hunters, everyone. Um, we absolutely want to support them and make their life better and be champions of that lifestyle. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I know it's a community that definitely cares about their health.
Yeah.
I mean, you definitely have some guys like just go park and shoot off the back, sit on the back of the truck and shoot from the trailer. But so a lot of the stuff that we're doing and places, the people that we're talking to, I mean, they're going deep into the country, and I mean, they're out preseason scouting. I mean, right now people are out putting in, I mean, probably 13, 14, 15 miles a day just
Wow.
looking for sheds. So
Wow.
it's definitely, I think there's definitely a need for it. And would be happy to make any connections that I have for you to get the
Oh,
right
thank
people to
you.
help promote your product. But yeah, Dr. Barattiero, I really appreciate your time. Is there, well, let me ask you this. Is there anything like, do you have something you're working on like next, like any new tech that you may be coming out with?
Well, we just launched the flask, and I'll tell you what's really cool about this is it is the world's first smart. So you have here. Let me get back. You have the world's first smart. So you just push that, and you can see that it's beginning to work, and you can see all the hydrogen coming up. And so this flask will do 8 parts per million. Oxygen's coming out right there. Can you see that little blue light?
Yep. Yeah.
So right there is where the oxygen and chlorine and any ozone are coming out, and just hydrogen is going in. And you can see that is purely just hydrogen going in. And what's really nice is this is a smart bottle. You can connect it to an app, and people say, why the heck would I need it connected to an app? You can set up a daily schedule to where if you wake up at 8 a.m., you can set it for 7:50, and the bottle will automatically make water for you. So when you get up, it's ready for you. You can also set it 3 times a day, and as long as you have water in it, it'll make your water, and then you can drink it on a schedule. You can also change the colors, the lights that are in here. These happen to be blue. You can change the color of the LEDs. You can change a lot of things about it. It'll also connect to Apple and other things to track how much water you're drinking, to load into maybe you're biohacking, maybe you're using different devices that are tracking all your numbers. You can track your hydration, and you can track how much hydrogen's coming in. So this is a very special product. We just launched this at CES 2025. We've sold 12,000 of them since the last week of January. And so people are loving these flasks. And so they are available, and we're getting better. We were running a 3-week delay. Now it's like a week and a half. And so it's getting much better. But that's our newest addition to the Echo line, we are talking about newer products that have a larger capacity, like 30 ounces instead of 12. So we will be introducing those things later. But that's everything at this point.
That's exciting. Well, let me ask you this last question. What do you hope people remember Echo Water for?
I hope that people remember us for just wanting to love and lift other people. So many people are struggling. And just like my wife and myself 20 years ago, I didn't know what to do about it. She was not doing well, and I was worried about losing her, actually. And that's a huge motivator to go and help your loved one because you don't want to have them gone. I didn't want to be a widow at 31. And so the whole point is what started Echo was healing my wife. Echo is a result of my wife's healing journey. And so that's what we're all about. We're just about helping you accomplish your divine potential, whatever that is. We want you to accomplish that. And that's what we're about, is providing products that are cost effective, that will last you for many years to come. And we're not going anywhere. We've already been here 16 years, right? We're not the newcomer. We've been around. And hopefully that's what people remember us, is for innovation and actually making true hydrogen products.
Perfect. Dr. Barattiero, thank you for your time. You guys, we'll make sure and put show links, or in the notes, we'll put links to Echo Water. We'll also put a link to the study.
Yeah.
Well, and if you're not following them, go follow them on Instagram and all the other socials. And
we should do like a cool little coupon code for them too, so that they can get. We don't usually do discounts, but maybe we could do a special thing, a 10% if they put in, Hunt Stealth, or I don't know. You have to come up with what you would want that coupon code, but at least we can be kind to them for listening and following and supporting you.
Yeah. Well, let's do. I'll follow up with you, but maybe let's just do stealth. That's kind of what we do. So we'll do stealth and 10%.
10%. If they go to echowater.com, anything they put in the cart, if they type in stealth, they'll get a discount from you, Ryan.
Wow. Perfect. Well, I appreciate that. Thanks for sharing that. And you guys, if you've learned something, or if there's been something that's been beneficial to you that you've picked up from this podcast, please share it. Whether it's available everywhere: YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, like you name it, wherever you listen to it. Share it with a friend that you think may be able to get some benefits from this podcast, and definitely go out and support Echo Water. So I appreciate everyone's time. Thank you for listening. Like the podcast, leave a review if you would, and stay safe, and God bless.